on satellite, on Freeview, on cable, on radio, on mobile, on the web and around the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7.
Making headlines first at 9. Fear for life. Commission of Inquiry witness Anika flees the country in face of death threats. Plugging the gaps. A supplementary estimate presented in Parliament and 90 million rupees allocated for the Neville Fernando Hospital. Saitam Saga. State Minister Mohanlal Grero says government proposes an enrolment examination or extended clinical training for Saitam students. Ball still in Minister's court. The chairman of the Election Commission says the minister should issue the gazette for mini polls. Making headlines from international arena. Panic in the air. The Air Asia slammed for chaotic response when a flight takes 20,000 feet plunge. Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Katrina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing into the central bank bond issuances officially concluded recording evidence today. Addressing the final session, the Commission's chairman, Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, however, said it will hold additional sessions if Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe wishes to provide his testimony. Meanwhile, it was revealed at the Commission today that Shanil Netkumara, who claims to be a relative of former Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake, had levelled death threats against witness Anika Vijayasurya, who testified against the former minister recently. Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda said Anika Vijayasurya had fled the country following numerous threats.
Proceeding commenced today with Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda making an application. He sought an order to the Director of Witness Protection Division of Police to set up an interim witness protection task force to investigate death threats levelled by Shanil Netkumara to Anika Vijayasurya and her family. Later, Steve Samuel, personal assistant of Arjun Aloysius, was questioned on the text and email messages extracted from his mobile phone. When asked if he realised that Aloysius corresponded business dealings with persons named PM, RK, AM and Saman Indunil Kumara mentioned in the messages, Samuel said he did not know. At the end of the session, the Commission's chairman, Justice K.T. Chitrasiri, revealed that a list of questions had been sent to Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, to which he should provide answers in the form of an affidavit. Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda meanwhile told the Commission that Perpetual Treasuries Limited is a criminal organisation that acted unlawfully with the support of influential politicians and other individuals.
State Minister of Education Mohanlal Grero stated in Parliament today that the government will introduce an enrolment exam for future students of Saitam or extend the duration of clinical training given to students with the approval of the Sri Lanka Medical Council. Moreover, supplementary estimate was presented to Parliament on several governmental institutes and ministries today. Accordingly, 90 million rupees was allocated for operational expenditure of Neville Fernando teaching hospitals and additional provisions. In the meantime, views were also expressed on the arrest of several parliamentarians during the Hambantota protests.
මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලගේ අත්සනකින් යුතුව ඔබතුමාට බාර දුන්නා සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරයාට විරුද්ධව විශ්වාස භංග යෝජනාවක්. මේ ලබා දෙන විශ්වාස භංගය.
This no confidence motion was subjected to amendments by you yourself following consultations with the Attorney General and included it in the agenda. The Leader of the House says that there is a legal issue with it. Honourable Speaker, this does not mention anything about a case.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා මේ ගැන නඩුවක් ගැන කතා වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
විශේෂ දවසක් හරි 9 වෙනිදාට ඉස්සෙල්ලා දීලා විශ්වාස භංග යෝජනාවට මුහුණ දෙන්න සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යතුමාට සිද්ධ කරන්න.
මේ ව්‍යවස්ථාදායකී උත්තරීතර සභාවේ ඉන්න සියලුම മന്ത്രിවරු මෙහෙම පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් විසින් අරන් ඉවෙලා අර කූඩු ඇතුළට දානවා නම් මොන විලි ලැජ්ජාවක්ද ගරු කතානායකතුමනි ඔබතුමාට?
නෑ මට ඒක තේරෙනවා ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා එතන උසාවි නියෝගයක් මත කියලා ඒක ඒ හේතුව තමයි මට මේ ඕනේ.
ගරු රණවීර මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට විරුද්ධව නියෝගයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ.
උසාවි නියෝගයක් මත තමයි මේ ක්‍රියාව ක්‍රියා කරන්නේ.
In Jaffna, there was a court order against two, but they engaged in the protest. Is there one law for the north and another for the south? is federal already given. On the 29th of July 1987, even when the president had imposed curfew, leader of the opposition Anna Bandaranaike and us parliamentarians breached it and protested in Petta. Yet J.R. Jayawardena did not arrest us. The law does not apply to public representatives during a peaceful protest. That's what you should safeguard. Police have hijacked you. According to my opinion, not only the parliamentarians but even the members of the public should have the right to engage in protests against their sorrows. Honourable Speaker, they formed this government defeating a history which buried that right. You're letting history repeat itself.
Minister of National Coexistence, Dialogue and Official Languages Mano Ganeshan acknowledges that the government has accepted the recommendation to increase the number of Pradesh Sabhas in Nuwara district to 12. Speaking at a media briefing held today, the minister also said that there are no plans to postpone elections any further.
I can responsibly say that elections will be held before the end of the January next year. The government has promised us that they will increase the number of Pradesh Sabhas in Nuwara district because the Nuwara Pradesh Sabha is known to be the largest in terms of size. We made a request to the subject minister Faisal Mustafa to gazette this before we enter local government elections. He held discussions with President today and they agreed to fulfill the promise given to us.
Meanwhile, speaking at a media briefing today, Secretary of the Ministry of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Kamal Padmasiri, said that a draft bill is handed over to the Election Commission pertaining to the request.
Accordingly, the government has accepted a request which has been persistent for some time from Ambagamuwa in Nuwara, which has over 100,000 individuals in 2 Pradesh Sabha. It is best we increase the number of provincial councils before we start the delimitation process.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, says that it is imperative that the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government issue the gazette on the number of members in the local governments. He expressed these views addressing a media briefing following a discussion held with 6 election monitoring bodies this morning.
6 election monitoring organizations met the Chairman of the Election Commission this morning.
I clearly informed them the fact that in order to hold the elections, it is necessary for the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government to issue the Gazette notification with the number of members of local government of the respective institutes. As long as the Gazette is not issued, the Commission is unable to announce the dates and declare elections. During the discussions, we emphasized the fact that if necessary, the Gazette on local governments other than these 4, including Pudukkode Irippu and Nuwara can be issued. Moreover, Nuwara was declared an urban council in 2016 under a Gazette notification issued by the minister. If he wishes to do so, he is able to divide it into local governments under the already completed delimitation process. The election can be held during the last week of December or first week of January. If this Gazette is issued within 12 to 14 days, elections can be held, including Pudukkode Irippu, Maritime Pattu, during the first week of January. The legal time span for the Elections Commission to hold election following the issuance of the Gazette is 54 days. The only reason for not being able to hold elections before the first week of January is solely the minister not issuing the Gazette.
The Ceylon Teachers Union today expressed their contempt over the move by the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to appoint a former provincial councillor convicted of forcibly making a school teacher kneel to the post of electorate organiser. Its secretary Joseph Stalin spoke on the matter at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Ananda Sarath Kumara kiyanne guruwariyak danagasawa puddgale.
Ananda Sarath Kumara is the man who made a teacher kneel. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa did not allow him to contest the general election from his party. Why is that? That is because people rejected him. As this government was coming into power on the 8th of January, they said the age of kneeling teachers is over. Yet the government appointed him as the electorate organiser of Anamaduwa. We have already expressed our opposition to the president in writing on the matter. The serious issue we have is the statement made by the so-called secretary of the UPFA, Mahinda Amaravira, yesterday. He said that there are no allegations against Ananda Sarath Kumara in Puttlam. He added that Sarath Kumara can garner votes and that is the reason for his appointment. Is this the good governance they promised? The Attorney General filed indictments in Puttlam High Court against Ananda Sarath Kumara while the judgment was given on the 12th of May 2014. He was handed a suspended 2-year prison term and he was ordered to pay 300,000 rupees in compensation to the teacher Priyani Susila Herath. A fine of 50,000 rupees was also given. Isn't that enough for Minister Mahinda Amaravira?
Mahinda Amaravira amatiwarayata meka madida.
The CID today arrested a relative of former chairman of Lithro Gas Lanka Limited, Shalila Munasinghe, who was implicated in the recent hacking of Taiwan's Far Eastern Bank, where money was transferred to an account in Sri Lanka. Touching on the issue, leader of the Sri Lanka Polujana Perumana, Professor G.L. Piris, meanwhile alleged that the government is facilitating international bank robberies.
This robbery was initiated in Taiwan by a foreigner. What is the link between that foreigner and some of Sri Lanka's prominent leaders, who appointed Shalila Munasinghe, a major rogue? The robbery of international banks has become a government program. The government paves the way for such robberies while Sri Lanka's name is tarnished in the international arena.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Bandulu Gunawardena touched on the bond issue.
There is plenty of evidence to prove that individuals responsible for these premeditated robberies of millions of rupees are working with impunity with political support. According to the evidence revealed so far before the Commission of Inquiry, if anyone was implicated here, they would have been imprisoned without bail, but this law doesn't work that way.
General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Minister Mahinda Amaravira, says he will take legal action against attorneys who allege that he attempted to stop politicians involved in the Hambantota protests from being given bail. He made this remark at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
This is a politically motivated conspiracy organised against me. They spread rumours saying that it was I who influenced the arrests. And upon their release on bail, those politicians and their lawyers said that the General Secretary of the UPFA sent in a letter requesting the bail be cancelled. This is the letter, and I emphasise that I have not written a single letter in a few weeks now. It was the Chief Protocol Officer of the Parliament who had signed this letter. The parliamentarians very well know who the Chief Protocol Officer is. And this document only mentions that they're going abroad for personal reasons. I will discuss with the Chief Justice about the lawyers involved, and I have already made arrangements to take legal action against them.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
It has been 4 days since 19-year-old Maliti Vatsala, who is a mother of one, 15-year-old Yasanti Madhushani and 14-year-old Charitra Chandrasekaran, who were reported missing. Although the Vallampity and Grand Pass police were tipped off by several parties, they weren't successful in their search today as well.
The parents of Maliti, Yasanti and Charitra approached the soothsayer in hope of finding the missing girls. Police officers visited the parents' residence in Salamulla at 2 this morning to inform them that they received a 119 call from an individual who said that he saw the missing trio having dinner at a restaurant in Horana. Following the tip-off, the parents left for Horana in hope of finding the missing girls. Whilst on their way, the parents were informed that Maliti called a relative at 9 this morning. They later visited the restaurant in Horana described by the 119 caller. However, employees of the restaurant informed them that the restaurant was closed within the time period mentioned by the police. The parents, in desperation, requested the public in Horana to help search for their daughters. The parents received another call this afternoon as well.
Maliti's father called us and said that he received a call saying that the eldest one is at a separate residence while the two younger ones are together.
Following the phone call, the parents travelled to Hokandara but did not get an opportunity to enter the residence. However, the Aturugiriya police noted that they will inspect the premises.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
Area residents engaged in a protest today in Rambava, Anuradhapura, demanding the renovation of the stretch of road between Gonava Junction to Pandukabepura. The protest obstructed traffic along the Anuradhapura-Medavachiya road. Shop owners in the Galle public market, which was completely destroyed during the 2004 tsunami, are facing much inconvenience due to the authorities' failure to reconstruct the market. The shop owners had been given a temporary market complex with the promise of restoring the old market within a year. A civil security officer died following a collision with a cab as well as a lorry near Ambalantota along the Colombo-Vellavaya main road. The officer was pronounced dead upon admission to the Ambalantota hospital.
Japan Bank for International Cooperation reiterated their support for Sri Lanka's economic program during a meeting with Minister of Finance and Media Mangala Samaravira. The meeting was held on the sidelines of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund annual meeting in Washington, D.C. last Saturday. CEO and Executive Managing Director of Japan Bank for International Cooperation, Tadashi Maeda, will lead a delegation to Colombo later this year for further discussions. The IMF reached a staff-level agreement with the Sri Lankan authorities on the third review under an economic reform program supported by a 3-year extended fund facility arrangement subject to the completion of a prior action by the authorities and the approval of the IMF Executive Board. The announcement was made from Washington, D.C. yesterday.
The board is expected to consider Sri Lanka's request for completion of the third review in December this year, by which time the 2018 budget is consistent with the EFF-supported program and will be submitted to Parliament as a prior action. The statement further noted that by incorporating the new Inland Revenue Act, the 2018 budget should continue fiscal consolidation supported by stronger revenues. The IMF says the central bank should stand ready to head off pressures on inflation and credit growth while continuing to enhance exchange rate flexibility.
Moody's Investor Service warns that Sri Lanka's reserve coverage of external obligation remains low, despite a recent increase in foreign exchange reserves. The New York-based rating agency insists that the manner in which authorities prepare for and manage these risks will be critical to stabilizing the external financing position.
In its just released report on Sri Lanka, titled External Pressures Constrain Credit Profile, Moody's noted that the country's forex reserves fell to a low of $4.1 billion in April this year from a peak of just over $8.1 billion in August 2014. However, forex reserves had been rebuilt to $6.7 billion by August 2017. Despite this improvement, Moody's points out that reserves adequacy remains relatively weak, and with large external debt repayments due between 2019 and 2022, foreign liabilities will bunch up to an average of $3.6 billion. On a positive note, the report concludes reforms could help reduce Sri Lanka's external vulnerability, although any impact is not fully clear yet.
Crude prices rose 1% yesterday as Iraqi forces entered the oil-rich city of Kirkuk in Iraq, seizing territory from Kurdish fighters and briefly cutting some crude output from OPEC's second-largest producer. Brent crude futures LCOC1 settled up 65 cents or 1.1% to $57.82 per barrel, while US crude ended 42 cents or 0.8% higher at $51.87 per barrel. Meanwhile, Reuters say China was offering to buy up to 5% of Saudi Aramco directly, a move that could give Saudi Arabia more flexibility as it plans to float the world's biggest oil producer on the stock market. Airbus SE has agreed to buy a majority stake in Bombardier Inc. C-Series jetliner program, giving a powerful boost to the Canadian plane and train maker in its costly trade dispute with Boeing Co., and is expected to more than double the value. The companies say the deal, which would come at no cost for Europe's largest aerospace group, would give Airbus a 50.01% interest in C-Series Aircraft Limited Partnership, which manufactures and sells the jets. The 110 to 130 seat plane, which has not secured a new order in 18 months and is being threatened by a possible 300% duty on US imports, would be built for US airlines at Airbus's Alabama assembly plant, circumventing any import penalties in a move that apparently caught Boeing off guard. Sri Lankan shares ended down for a second straight session today, slipping further from their highest close in more than 10 weeks hit last week, with investors booking profits in telecom stocks while block deals boosted the turnover. The Colombo Stock Index ended at 0.36% weaker at 6,572.05, its lowest close since October 11th. We now have the daily market update with Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,980.54 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 364.38 million rupees and foreign sales were 1.47 billion rupees. There were 6 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 1.58 billion rupees.
Sri Lankan rupee ended slightly weaker in dull trade today as the imported dollar demand surpassed mild exported greenback sales. The spot rupee ended at 153 rupees and 60 to 65 cents per dollar, slightly weaker from yesterday's close of 153 rupees and 55 to 65 cents. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day.
While watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. There are calls tonight for Air Asia Indonesia to be banned from operating flights to and from Australia following its latest on-air emergency. Passengers slammed the budget airliner for its chaotic response when a Perth to Bali flight lost cabin pressure and plunged more than 20,000 feet. Making matters worse, some travellers were forced to pay for new flights. First at 9's Indiviri Amuwatta is in Indonesia and picks up the story for us tonight.
Media reports say passengers on board QZ 535 reported that airline staff were screaming, looked tearful and shocked. Some went on to say that most of the passengers were looking towards the crew for reassurance, but for no avail as they themselves were distorted.
Give us a clear message that's not braced for crash land because it's quite scary for us.
Media reports highlight that Air Asia workers had sprinted down aisle shouting emergency, brace, crash positions about 25 minutes after the plane took off from Perth in Australia. Air Asia Group Head of Safety Captain Ling Leong Tien said pilot turned back following a technical issue to ensure the safety of passengers. The Australian Transport Safety Bureau, an accident investigator, meanwhile said it was investigating the airliner's depressurization at 34,000 feet.
Well, with this incident, the question of air safety of budget airlines in the region becomes a pivotal question and comes to the limelight as authorities are calling for speedy action to avert any such disaster as the one of MH370 in 2014 and also AirAsia's very own flight disaster in December 2014. Indira Yamwatha for First at 9 from Jakarta, Indonesia.
U.S. Deputy Secretary of State John J. Sullivan says the United States is not ruling out the eventual possibility of direct talks with North Korea. He made the remark today following a meeting with Japanese Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs Shinsuke Sugiyama in Tokyo.
Eventually, we don't rule out the possibility of direct talks, but our focus now is on diplomacy, principally the pressure campaign. We must, however, with our allies in Japan and South Korea and elsewhere, to be prepared for the worst should diplomacy fail.
Sullivan's remark comes as U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson reaffirms the importance of diplomacy over the North Korean issue, having previously revealed that the U.S. already has lines of communications with Pyongyang. Meanwhile, North Korea's Deputy UN Ambassador Kim In-ryong warns the situation on the Korean peninsula, quote, has reached the touch-and-go point and nuclear war may break out any moment.
At least 39 people are killed in a wave of wildfires in central and north Portugal, as well as in Spain, which started over the weekend. Authorities warn that dozens of the 145 fires still raging are considered serious. The authorities in Portugal declared a state of emergency in affected areas over the weekend, when about 500 fires were reported in the central and northern regions. About 4,000 firefighters were working to extinguish at least 65 blazes, which killed at least 36. Meanwhile, in Spain, 3 of the victims were found dead due to deadly wildfires which broke across the areas of Galicia and Asturias. Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy blamed arsonists for starting fires in Spain yesterday.
What we are dealing with here is something that is not caused by accident. It has been provoked, so as you can see, it is impossible for this to be triggered under natural circumstances.
We will join you for some sports news on the other side.
You are watching Sri Lanka's trusted news brand, Other Derana 24/7.
Sri Lanka Cricket confirmed its commitment to play the third and final T20 game of the ongoing Sri Lanka tour of Pakistan at the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore on the 29th of October. Now, the decision was made amid opposition voiced by several players, including the captain. Speaking to Other Derana, SLC Chairman Tilanga Sumitipala warned that only the players willing to take part in all 3 matches will be selected for the T20 leg of the tour.
The security provided for our team is equal to the security provided to an arrival of a head of state. We decided to go ahead with the tour since we did not have any issue about our security. 3 T20 matches are scheduled. We only selected players who are willing to go and play. Another opportunity will be given to declare their willingness or unwillingness to travel.
Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's limited overs captain Upul Tharanga pulled out of the T20 match scheduled in Lahore, citing security concerns.
Sri Lanka suffered their 9th consecutive defeat in one-day internationals last night at the hands of Pakistan during the second match of the 5-match series. Pakistan handed the visitors a 32-run defeat, marking the longest ODI losing streak experienced by the country since 1998 and 1999, where they lost 8 games on the trot.
Pakistan won the toss and elected to bat first. For a while, Sri Lanka put up a strong fight, knocking out Pakistan's first 6 wickets for 101 runs, but a brilliant 109-run stand by Babar Azam and Shadab Khan bolstered the Pakistanis, who went on to put on 219 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in the allotted 50 overs. Azam scored 101 while Khan scored 52. Chasing a target of 220, Sri Lanka's batsmen were paralysed by Pakistan bowlers and were steadily dismissed, many of them for single figures. Skipper Upul Taranga's gallant 112 not out was the sole bright spot for Sri Lanka. He, together with Jeffrey van der Say, put on a partnership of 76, but van der Say's dismissal for 22 was the last straw as Suranga Lakmal and Lahiru Gamage were toppled soon afterwards and Sri Lanka were bowled out for just 187.
Not a great way to finish your reckon, but I tell you what, there's been some great throws.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to Sadhini Upeka at the Other Derana Weather Centre with their forecast for the next 24 hours.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. Now temperatures for tomorrow are expected to vary between 20 and 33 degrees Celsius. In addition, a low pressure zone is expected to form over the western part of the island during the latter half of the day. Showers or thunder showers can be expected in Jaffna, Mannar, Trincomalee, Anuradhapura and Puttlam, along with most of the western province, the southern province and Kandy. That's it from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city-by-city forecast.
And before we go, we'd like to take you on a dive off the coast of Colombo to meet the world's largest fish, the majestic whale shark. Its size at over 12 meters can be daunting, but the whale shark feeds almost exclusively on microscopic marine creatures and is not known to pose a threat to humans. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.